I'm reinventing myself. I'm me and nobody else. Ooh, I can't help but smile.
Hello everybody and welcome to another one of these things. Today I'm in the Kensington market area of Toronto, one of my favorite areas of the city, and of course it's harsh bright sunlight as usual when I'm out shooting. Today we're doing a vintage lens, one of my favorites actually, and this is the perfect neighborhood for it. Let's see how things go. For some Canadians old enough, the Kensington market area will always be associated with the King of Kensington, starring Al Waxman, shown here. Interestingly enough, Al Waxman was an actual native of the Kensington market area. The show ran between 1975 and 1980. They even have a statue of him in the park down the street. His character Larry King had a convenience store at the southeast corner of Augusta and Nassau. This is the northeast corner of Augusta and Nassau. It's an incredibly culturally diverse neighborhood, which makes it a favorite for photographers and provides a lot of color and texture. It's also got a very bohemian vibe, which also helps add to that color and texture. Lots of interesting people, as you can imagine. So what are we shooting with actually? Yes, my Minolta Rokkor-X 50mm f1.7. What a strange maximum aperture. In October, the prerequisite still life of some pumpkins. I love the look on this guy's face. This is Christy, student of photography and architecture at the nearby University of Toronto. She was shadowing me on this day, working on her photo assignment. This is a local photographer sitting in front of this guy's place. Ryan, owner of Longboard Living. If you're ever in the neighborhood in the market for a longboard, check out Ryan's shop. I know, Ryan has had to have modeled at some point or another. Bungalow is a awesome vintage furniture shop, but the neighborhood's known for vintage clothing if you're into some cool and unique threads. Look at that bouquet. Cool vintage Honda. A not so vintage Harley. I was inclined to follow this guy to see where he was going. Like I've said before, every cool neighborhood in Toronto has its own brewery. Lots of awesome places to eat in the neighborhood. This is the patio of El Rey, apparently a great place to get tacos. Mamacitas, another cool spot to hang out. Cool place for live music is Trinity Common. My girlfriend Marmar and I have gone to see my friend Carlos, musician, play. I love me some ceviche. You'll find a lot of vendors set up right on the street. Check that bouquet behind the bouquet. Very interesting rendering of bouquet. Caught red-handed. This cute couple having their engagement photos done. The band, don't know where they are going. Check these guys out. This provided me an opportunity to get my favorite shot of the day. Very heavily stylized. Before heading home, I had to walk 5 minutes and 2 blocks over to neighboring Chinatown on a little bit of a family history project, let's just say. When my mom's family moved to Toronto, my grandmother opened up a restaurant in which my mom worked. Here's a shot of my mom in 1963. They lived in what is now Chinatown at 70 Huron Street. The building's not there anymore. Here sits a Chinese dance theater and a fortune cookie company. Another very gritty, stylized edit, I think emphasizing the chaos. Losing the light here at Queen and Spadina, or Spadina, which is the actual name, but nobody calls it that. You're automatically cooler if you wear a Mustang shirt. Time to get myself home. Hey there, welcome to the Humble Studio. Today I am wearing my vintage CBC shirt. CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Company, for those of you who don't know, and they are the ones who produced the King of Kensington. So in honor of the King of Kensington, I'm wearing my vintage logo CBC shirt. There you go. Anyway, about the title, I am no Helios hater. I've got a couple Helios lenses here actually. I've owned pretty much every series and every production run of the Helios, so I know all about the quality differences between them all, and I've had a lot of fun shooting with these lenses. They do produce some really unique results, and that's why people use them. They don't use them because they are necessarily quality optics. Actually, the tolerances are pretty crap on most of these lenses, and they were not at the forefront of quality manufacturing. I'm just saying. You can get new examples of these made by Zenit, I believe. This looks like a new lens. It's not though. It's definitely newer than this. This is actually not that bad to deal with as far as the aperture and the smoothness of the focusing ring. If you want to daily a vintage lens, if you're brave enough to daily a vintage lens, if you're good enough with your focusing, or even if you want to practice manually focusing and adjusting your aperture, I would recommend something like this, just because the likelihood you're going to get an example where the focusing is smooth and the aperture works well is much higher on one of these. What is this? You know from earlier, this is the Minolta Rokkor-X that I was shooting with in Kensington. Now you can also find Rokkor lenses. The difference between Rokkor and Rokkor-X is, I think, probably negligible, although Rokkor-X is supposed to be better. I'm not really sure about that. My only experiences are with the Rokkor-X lenses. These can be found quite affordably. Kind of in the same ballpark as the Helios. They can go much more expensive than Helios lenses because they can go to much larger apertures. As you know, this is a 50mm 1.7, that very strange maximum aperture. But these can go down to, like, you know, 1.2, where you get into much pricier lenses. Now all you have to do to adapt this to your E-mount camera would be to have the proper adapter. This is an MD-NEX adapter, which means Minolta to NEX. It says NEX because that's Sony's old series of mirrorless cameras, the NEX series. I had an NEX5 and I've been adapting vintage lenses since the Sony NEX5. You may find an adapter that says MD to E-mount, which would make a lot more sense nowadays. Anyway, so you just find the correct adapter, about 15 bucks, and that just goes together with your lens like so, and then that gives you your E-mount there. Of course, completely manual. You're gonna have to do all of it yourself, focusing and adjusting your aperture. As you can see, there's a lot of character from this as well. The bokeh renders in a very interesting way, like the HELIOS. Maybe not as crazy as the HELIOS, actually for sure not as crazy as the HELIOS. But you know, you're not going to want to put any black diffusion filters on this. You're likely going to have enough diffusion out of your lens anyway. Of course, it depends on the condition of your lens. This one was like brand new essentially, because I had actually bought a old Minolta camera that my dad used to lend me in high school and later in art school. My sister actually has that camera now, the original, but I wanted to buy another just for the sake of having it, and it just so happens it comes with this lens which is in incredible condition. It's almost like no one's used it, like it's come right out of the box, so in very, very good condition. But you'll still see stuff like, you know, some diffusion. There'll be a bit of CA as well, chromatic aberrations. Other vintage lenses you might want to look at would be the Zuiko lenses, which are for OM mount, Olympus. And so they'll say, you know, OM to NEX or OM to E mount on the adapters. And I've tried many Zuiko lenses. They're also fantastic to work with and can be incredibly sharp. If you look closely at those examples I shot in Kensington, I was probably only in focus 3/4 of the time. So myself personally, I'm not necessarily going to daily a vintage lens. If you are going to use a vintage lens more than once in a while, you might want to look at something that's got higher tolerances on it. The HELIOS is, I guess, for a very specific use case, and I guess some could argue that all of these lenses are for a specific use case. They do give you a fantastic vintage look, of course, so that comes recommended. I got a real deal on this because, you know, I bought that old Minolta for like 60 bucks and the lens was thrown in there for free. These lenses in decent condition go anywhere between 30 to even close to 100 bucks, but most of them are between 30 and 50 bucks. If you work in shipping, where, you know, if you've been on eBay, you know that people will hike up that shipping cost to cover themselves and make the lens more attractive. So pay attention to how much people are charging for shipping. As usual, I hope you all got something out of this one and you enjoyed my little photo video walk in Kensington Market with this beautiful little lens. If so, consider leaving me a thumbs up. If not, that's okay too. If you've got any ideas for future episodes, please leave those in the comments below. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of these episodes in the future, consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. Until next time, keep working to make your chosen idea reality. Peace.
Wanted guy.